My name is Lena, and I have been married to Mark for 7 years. We live in a quiet neighborhood in a small town, surrounded by friendly neighbors and the sound of birds that sing every morning. On the surface, everything about our life seems peaceful: a small house, a stable job, and a loving family. But lately, that peace has been shaken by something I never thought would come between us: as mother's inheritance. It started one evening when we were having dinner. The sky outside was orange and pink, and the smell of fried fish filled the kitchen. Mark seemed quiet, poking at his food with his fork. "What's wrong?" I asked, trying to catch his eyes. He looked up and sighed. "Mom still hasn't decided how she's going to divide her inheritance. She keeps saying she'll think about it." "But what's there to think about, Lena? She knows I'm her only son." I smiled gently. "Maybe she just wants to make sure it's fair for everyone. You know, your sisters helped her a lot too." He frowned. "Fair? I'm the one who visits her most often. I fix her house, buy her medicine, take her to the doctor. But she still treats us all the same. It's not fair."
I didn't know what to say.
I understood he wanted recognition for his care, but the way he said it made me uncomfortable. Inheritance was something private, something that should come from love, not pressure. That night, I lay in bed, unable to sleep. I could hear Mark typing on his phone beside me, probably texting his mother again about it. I turned my face to the wall and closed my eyes tightly. Something about all this felt wrong. A few weeks later, we visited Mark's mother, Mrs. Nolan. She lived in the countryside, in a large, old wooden house filled with the scent of herbs and the ticking sound of an antique clock. She welcomed us with her warm smile, her hands soft and wrinkled from years of work. "My dear children," she said, hugging us. "It's good to see you." Mark smiled, but I could tell he was only pretending. The first few hours went smoothly: tea, laughter, small talk, until his 2 sisters, Emily and Sarah, arrived. They brought their children, gifts, and noise into the house. It felt like a reunion. But as the day went on, the topic that always made my stomach twist came up. "So, Mom," Mark said suddenly during dinner, "have you made any decisions about the house yet?" The room went silent. Emily stopped feeding her toddler, and Sarah raised her eyebrows. Mrs. Nolan looked at her son, a soft sigh escaping her lips. "Mark," she said calmly, "I told you before, I'm not ready to talk about that." "But Mom," he continued, his tone sharp, "you're getting older. It's important to make things clear. I've been taking care of this place for years. I think it's only right." "Mark," Emily interrupted, "don't talk like that in front of Mom." "Why not?" "I'm just being honest," he snapped. "You two barely visit. I'm the one who makes sure she's okay." Mrs. Nolan's face fell. "Mark, that's enough." I touched his arm gently, whispering, "Please stop." But he didn't. The tension in the room grew heavier. Finally, Sarah stood up, taking her children to another room. Emily followed, shaking her head in disappointment. I could see tears forming in Mrs. Nolan's eyes. That night, the house was quiet. I couldn't sleep again. Mark lay beside me, restless. "Why do they always make me look like the bad guy?" he said angrily. "I'm just trying to make sure Mom's house stays in good hands." "Mark," I whispered softly, "it's her decision. It's her home. You can't force her." He didn't answer. He turned his back to me and muttered, "You don't understand." Weeks turned into months, and Mark's obsession with his mother's inheritance grew worse. Every time his phone rang and it was her, he would talk in a sharp tone. Every time his sisters visited her, he would accuse them of manipulating her. One night, he came home from work looking upset. He dropped his bag on the floor and slammed the door. "She gave Emily the old jewelry box," he shouted. "That box has been in the family for generations." "So what?" I asked carefully. "It's just jewelry, Mark." "It's not just jewelry. It's a part of the inheritance." I tried to calm him. "Please don't get angry over this. She probably just wanted to give it to her daughter." He glared at me. "Why are you always defending them? You should be on my side." "I'm on the side of peace," I said softly, "not greed." His eyes widened. "Are you calling me greedy?" I took a deep breath. "I'm saying you're hurting yourself by thinking about this too much." He shouted, "You have no idea how hard I've worked for this family. For her. And this is how everyone treats me."
I didn't argue back.
Instead, I walked to the balcony and stood under the cold night sky, trying to hold back my tears. The wind felt heavy, carrying the weight of our silence. A few days later, I decided to visit Mrs. Nolan alone. She greeted me kindly, though her eyes looked tired. "Lena, my dear," she said, "I hope you're doing well. How's Mark?" I hesitated before answering. "He's worried about you, Mrs. Nolan. He just wants to make sure everything is safe." She smiled sadly. "I know he cares, but he doesn't realize that love cannot be measured by inheritance. I wish he understood that." She sat down beside me, her hands trembling slightly. "When I go, I want peace among my children, not fights. But I'm afraid this inheritance will tear them apart." Her voice broke a little, and I held her hand. "Maybe if you talk to him again." "I have," she said gently, "but his heart is clouded by fear. He's afraid of being forgotten." I nodded slowly. "Maybe he just needs time." Before I left, she handed me a small box. "Please give this to him," she said. "Tell him it's something for me, not because he asked, but because I love him." When I opened it later at home, I saw an old pocket watch. Inside, there was a picture of Mark as a boy, smiling next to his mother. My heart ached. It was not gold or money, it was something far more valuable. But when I gave it to Mark, he didn't see it that way. He opened the box, frowned, and said, "A watch? That's it? That's all she gave me?" "Mark, look inside," I said softly. "It's your photo. It's special." He interrupted, his voice cold. "Special doesn't pay the bills, Lena." I stared at him, shocked. "Is that what this is all about? Money?" He looked away. "You wouldn't understand." I felt something break inside me. The man I once admired, who used to laugh easily, who cared deeply, was now someone else. Someone blinded by greed and resentment. "Mark," I whispered, tears filling my eyes, "you're losing yourself." He didn't answer. He just sat there, staring at the watch like it meant nothing. That night, I packed a small bag and went to stay at my sister's place. I needed space, and I hoped maybe he did too.
For 2 weeks, we didn't speak.
Then one afternoon, I got a call from Emily. "Lena," she said in a trembling voice, "Mom's in the hospital." My heart sank. I rushed there immediately. When I arrived, Mark was already by her bedside, holding her hand tightly. His eyes were red, his face pale. I stood beside him. For a moment, we both stayed quiet, watching the fragile woman who loved us both. Then Mrs. Nolan spoke in a whisper. "Mark, my dear boy, please promise me something." He nodded, tears streaming down his face. "Anything, Mom. Promise me you'll stop fighting for what's mine. Because everything I have, it's already yours in my heart." Mark sobbed. He pressed her hand to his forehead and whispered, "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry." I looked away, my own tears falling silently. A week later, Mrs. Nolan passed away peacefully in her sleep. The funeral was quiet and simple. Family, friends, and neighbors gathered to say goodbye. Mark was silent throughout, holding the pocket watch in his hand. After the funeral, the lawyer gathered the children for the reading of her will. Everyone sat around the table in her old living room, the air heavy with sadness. The lawyer began to read. Mrs. Nolan had divided her property equally among her 3 children. The house would be sold, and the money shared. But at the end of the will, she added something special. "To my son Mark, I leave my late husband's pocket watch, not for its value, but as a reminder that time is more precious than money. Use your time to love, not to fight." Mark couldn't hold back his tears. For the first time, he understood. The watch wasn't just an old piece of metal, it was a message from a mother to her son. After that day, Mark changed. Slowly but surely. He started spending more time at home, helping with chores, smiling again. One evening, we sat on the porch, watching the sunset. He turned to me and said softly, "I was a fool, Lena." I smiled faintly. "You were lost." He nodded. "I thought love meant receiving something. But now I know it's about giving. Mom tried to teach me that all along." I took his hand. "She'd be proud of you." He looked down at the pocket watch in his palm. "This is all I need now." The sun dipped behind the hills, painting the sky gold. For the first time in months, I felt peace. It's been 5 years since Mrs. Nolan passed away. The house was sold long ago, and everyone has moved on. Emily and Sarah visit often, and the family has grown closer again. Mark still keeps the pocket watch on his bedside table. Every morning, he winds it carefully and whispers, "Good morning, Mom." Sometimes, when I see him holding that watch, I feel grateful not for the inheritance, but for the lesson it brought. Life isn't about what we own, but about who we love. And in that small act of forgiveness, we found our way back to each other. Moral of the story: inheritance can test love, but true wealth lies not in what we receive, but in what we give: kindness, time, and understanding.